there folks, welcome you all to yet another podcast of mine. It has been quite the while, people, since we have done a podcast or a vlog, or at least a proper full-on one. I'm actually trying to remember the last podcast was quite some time ago, but the last vlog was probably a little cheap one on the phone when I've been out and about. I just sort of fancied catching up with you guys, and I've done a couple of short ones, but I haven't done a proper one for quite a while. And obviously it's been Elden Ring. Apart from this week where I've not got any recording done, we'll talk about that. And a couple of weeks back where it was kind of the same thing. But we'll talk a little bit about that. And really the main reason for doing the podcast is to give you guys a channel update. But yeah, as always with these things, people, I've picked up on some of the latest gaming news and we'll talk about that. I'm going to do it in the style of, I think I did this in the last one, rather than me trying to remember things about the news stories. I've got the links for most of them, and I'll just open up the links and I'll read excuse me, people, that's very unprofessional. I've got the links and I'll open up the articles and I'll read out the articles. I think that's probably a bit better, than you get a full sense of what's going on. I mean, let us do this and let us do no more. This is FA Cup day, people. It's FA Cup final day. And those who follow the channel know I've got three teams. It's Scotland, Celtic, Liverpool. So by the time you see this, I'll either be disappointed that we've not won the FA Cup or delighted that we've got a second cup for the season. I have, just behind this camera that I'm recording on, I've got my iPad on silent. And I'm about to watch my Celtic lift the trophy for the Scottish Premier League. So I didn't want to miss the lifting of it. But I was so determined to bring you guys a podcast this weekend because it's been so long. And I am actually breaking a rule, people. I'm breaking a rule. I'll tell you what that rule is, and you're going to like me for it. I mean, the 5 o'clock rule has been broken, people. It is currently 2:15 in the afternoon. Celtic are walking out to pick up the cup, and I'm having a cheeky lunchtime, a cheeky afternoon beverage, people. Normally I kind of wait until until evening time. I need to pace myself because I'll do this. I won't have another one until the FA Cup's on, but I don't drink much while I'm actually talking to you guys, but I've got to pace myself through the night because I'll have a few beers during the FA Cup, and then Eurovision's on. And I always watch Eurovision. You know, I think it's just a great bit of fun and a great laugh if there's some silly acts on it and stuff. But it's just a great occasion. I just love watching it. It's something I've always watched since I was a kid. And it's sort of not as monotonous as it was once the thing's over now, because they've cut. You have this sort of, I don't watch the semi-finals and all that sort of stuff. I just watch the big final. So it's a shorter event now. So far as the voting used to take about 5 hours back in the day, and now it only takes about an hour after all the singing's done. So it's just a good occasion and a good bit of fun. So I'll be doing that all the way through the evening. So I've got my beverages in. I am also on holiday this week coming up, so it's holiday time for me. Holiday. And I have picked up a number of articles that we're going to go through, as I say. Firstly, though, let me just say this and let me say no more, people. Flaggins up to you all. There's the old flaggins up glass, people, that Aaron Brew got me, my son. And it was I was going to have a bottle of Peroni, actually, because I've never drank Peroni before. I went out for my 53rd, my level 51 birthday, people. Was on the 27th, and we got I'm trying to remember what day it was. It was after that. It was a few days after that was the Saturday. I think my birthday landed on a Wednesday, I think. And I went out with Craigie Boy and his brother John. We call him Johnny Boy. Hey Johnny Boy, the pipes are calling. So we went out and Sal, Craigie Boy's wife, came for most of it, and then she had to go home for the little one. And we went out for a few drinks and such like, and we went for a meal first. Went for a Chinese. I completely lost my train of thought there. I paused for a second. Did you see it? I was like, why have I gone off on this story? Why have I gone off on a tangent? We went for a Chinese first, and the only thing they had on tap was Peroni. And it was I'm pretty sure it's the first time I've ever drank a Peroni, and it was really nice. Anyway, this is not a Peroni, but I have bought some of the downstairs. I've kind of changed my vintage, people. I was drinking Stella for a while, and the last few times I've drank it, I thought I'm not really enjoying it. But after we had the Peroni in the Chinese, we ended up at a pub that had it was Carlsberg. So I've actually ended up back on Carlsberg because I think I prefer the taste of Stella. I mean, I know Stella's stronger, but we're not. We're not living on the streets, people. You know what I mean? I don't need hits of alcohol to be particularly hard as such. So yeah, so we're on the old pint of Carlsberg here, people. Oh yes, flagging's up to you. Did I do it? I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, I'm gonna have a sip of it. Anyway, that's the one that I'll have while I'm recording this and editing it all together. I will try and put some footage in for you guys, like I like to do. And I've got a huge, vast montage, people, of pictures behind me. Some of which you'll have seen before, but they're all relevant to what we're going to talk about in the articles. Anyway, channel-wise, there was a few weeks back, there was a week where nothing was posted up. Now, a lot of this, and this week, nothing's been posted up, and the main reason for it is, well, there's a number of reasons for it. And none of it's to do with the fact that I don't want to play Elden Ring anymore. But I'll talk about Elden Ring in a minute. But yeah, I mean, there was just certain things going on that stopped me. And we need to remember that this is a part-time thing for me. I'm not a full-time YouTuber. So what I do and what I put up and it all takes time and it all takes, well, I'm going to say effort, but I don't mean it like, it's an effort, I wouldn't do it if I didn't like doing it. And every now and then I just need to pull back a little bit. Sometimes that's forced upon me by things happening in life. Other times it's I'm not conscious as such, but it's just I really don't feel like recording tonight. I just want to, veg and do this. But I've not gamed in the weeks that I haven't recorded. I haven't gamed at all. So it's not like I've been gaming offline or anything like that. Anyway, so there was a number of reasons, and another reason is that the weather's been getting a lot nicer. So, what I try to do is I try to do a recording. I try and do some recording at the weekend somewhere, whether that be a Saturday or a Sunday, and then the 2 days during the week where I'll try and get episodes recorded will be either a Tuesday or a Thursday, because they're the 2 days that I don't go for a big gym session in the evening. We've started going to the gym again, people. Starting to pull the guns out again. I mean, what am I on now? I think we're on week 4 back at the gym. So I'll do a gym session on Monday evening, Wednesday evening, and a Saturday morning. That's my 3 gym sessions, and they're 2 hours. Well, in fact, they're over 2 hours sometimes, but 2 hours of full-on weights, doing every part of the body, rather than doing every day and then trying to home in on certain parts. Blimey, that beer's a bit fizzy. So yeah, and then the days in between, I'll actually do a lunchtime run. Because I'm working from home, I'll go for a run at lunchtime to get out of the house. So those days, those are the Tuesdays and Thursdays generally where I'll be ready to record in the evening, and I've got plenty of time. So that's the plan. So that's the days where I'll try and get something done. I do try and keep it so that I'm recording because I'm enjoying it, not because I feel like I've got to put something up for you guys, because if it's forced and I'm not enjoying it, that will come across in my videos and it won't be that much fun to watch. So forgive me for the little breaks that there are, but and I do know that historically I do not finish a lot of Let's Plays. I only finish them if there's a lot of attention, well, not attention is the wrong word, but a lot of interest in people watching them. And there's still a lot of interest for my little channel. We're still getting well over 80 to 100 views for each video that I put up, and that's a lot of views for a Let's Play for me. They usually tail off down to the mid-50s for a lot of them, and then at some point I was actually thoroughly enjoying Torchlight 2. I was adoring that game, but there was you guys just weren't interested in watching it, which was weird because Grim Dawn, I mean, it's not that different to Grim Dawn. It's a different art style, but it's a fantastic game. I mean, in some ways it's actually better than Grim Dawn, but it was a terrific game. I know it's an older one, but I'd never heard the like of it before. I've also got another one, which I'm now forgetting the name of. I mentioned it. Is it... I'm not going to remember it. It's kind of a different sort of gothic type one that's also a top-down looter type thing like that. I mentioned it in another vlog, but on a podcast, I've still got that sitting there to play at some point. So we will try and get back to doing something either alongside Elden Ring, because I realise that it's been 2 or 3 months now of just Elden Ring. And I realise that there's a lot of people following the channel that are not going to be into Elden Ring. So, I am aware of it. I am thinking about what I might do about that. But I'm also extremely conscious that I do want to finish Elden Ring. I've got to be honest with you. And this isn't any of the reason I'm not recorded, actually. But I'm not finding Caelid enjoyable. But I'm finding it hard to find any kind of enjoyment in that area. And it's not... I think a lot of it's got to do with... And I'm gonna drop this game from a 10 to a 9, right? And people... And I'll tell you for why. I think with more time... this game would have a lot more variety in a lot of the open world dungeony type stuff that's going on. Because every time you find a cave, it is pretty much the exact same thing that you're going to do. And it's the exact same thing that you're going to, I mean, there's even duplicate type enemies, like I feel like if that game had given itself another year in development, I think we would have got a lot more variety in that bigger world than we got in that game. However, that said, I think they launched it at exactly the right time because it's made an absolute bucket. And because of everything else getting delayed, which some of which we'll talk about, I mean, it was a perfect time for them to release it. It's done super well. But I do feel like that game could have had another year in development and we would have got a lot more variety in these areas. Especially caves and stuff, when you find the caves and you go through them, and it's always the same thing. You find a door, there's a boss in it. I mean, if you think about it, right, and I get it, it's fun and blah and whatever. And I suppose you could say this about any boss room, but why, there's almost in all the other games, there's kind of a reason why that boss is there. But in those caves, it's like there's this big creature locked in this room. And there's no reason for it. And in every cave, there is a big creature locked in a room, and there's no particular reason that it's locked in that room, unless there's some lore I don't know about. But it's just this, here's an area, work your way through it, there's doors at the end, and you open it, and you go in, and there's a boss. And some of the bosses are fun, most of them are fun. Challenging and fun. But I just feel like there could have been a lot more variety to that side of it than there is, because it's all very, very samey now. It was exciting at first, but when you realise that it's all the same every time you go into one of those sections, then it's kind of like, And I realise that the main bosses have got that purpose and that reason to be there and all that sort of stuff, so that's fine. I understand that they're side bosses and not main bosses for the story. So, but I just feel like if they were making a second one and they gave themselves a bit more time, I think you'd get a bit more variety in that sort of stuff. That aside, Caelid in itself is just one of those areas that it's like... anything that's sort of deserty or burnt, I just find it... I mean, it's a miracle I did any kind of length of time in Fallout, really. Anything that's a burnt-out wasteland, I always feel like it's just a bit of a cop-out and not interesting to go around at all. It's just dull to me. I don't enjoy those environments too much, and I think that's possibly part of it. Also, the music that's sort of playing in it is really depressing, and it's like, I mean, the gameplay and everything's still fine and fun, but I'm just not finding that area particularly good to go through. Anyway, on a side, I'm still going to get back to it. So you've still got plenty more Elden Ring to look forward to. However, on top of that, and you can tell me what you think in the comments below, Aaron Brew, my son Aaron Brew, he has finished the game. I think did he platinum it? I think he might have done. Anyway, he's finished it, certainly. And... he is sort of suggesting that he jump in and we do a lump of it on co-op, just to avoid me getting the monotony of it getting to me. I don't know. I'd have to have a bigger talk with him, because I don't want him to jump in and then we just finish the story and that's it. Because it's a bit of a cop out. You guys have been watching me sort of investigate and stuff. Also, I don't know if it then becomes less interesting for you guys to watch because Aaron Brew knows where to go and what to look for. I'm sure he's not found everything in the world, but he's certainly found a lot. So anyway, so let me know in the comments below if you fancy a bit of that. I mean, I did it with Craigie Boy on Demon Souls Remake for one night, so it's gonna be a similar thing to that because Aaron Brew's up in Edinburgh, I'm down in Blackpool, so he'd be on the mic, you'd be able to hear him through the through the chat and all that sort of stuff like you did with the Craigie Boy one. So it was popular, the Craigie Boy one, actually, when I did the co-op with him on Demon Souls. But that was actually his benefit to get him some trophies and stuff. So it was my game, but he needed to get some trophies for the plat. Anyway, so there you are. So that's my plans for the channel is to, at the moment, get some more Elden Ring done. And obviously, with me being off this week, in theory, I should be able to get a big chunk of recording done, which would be good. So you can look forward to a lot more of that coming. But I think, as a side point, I think I might try and throw up something else, just so that there's, maybe this other top-down one to see if you guys want to see a bit of it or what have you. I always feel a bit bad that I don't carry on with the Let's Play when the figures start getting really low, because there's obviously still people there that are enjoying it, but it always feels like it's doing the channel more harm than it is good. You'll have to forgive me if... sorry, I won't get sidetracked, but so... you see the viewer counts falling because I'm putting something up that isn't popular. With Elden Ring, it did the opposite. So I've got to be careful I don't keep pushing things onto the channel that pop up on people's things that have subbed to me. They're going, oh, no, I don't want to, and just the sub count just starts falling down again. So that's the main reason I tend to stop doing something. Anyway, the side point is that, I've been choked with something for the last sort of 3 days. I woke up one morning and my throat was raw. I mean, oh, Jesus. And I've just had something in my system this whole time. I mean, I've not been lying, feeling sorry for myself. I was out doing a workout this morning and, I've been busy and having a beer now and stuff. But, so if you see splices in this video, which I don't normally do, it's normally just a straight up me chatting without any, editing, other than me putting the footage in and stuff. I normally don't splice what I'm, me. I normally just do it as a one take, people. One Take Steve. Should we change my name? So, yeah, it could be that my nose starts running and I have to stop and go sort it out or what have you. So that's the only reason I mention it. I feel like it's not COVID. I feel like it is just a cold. So I didn't want to just ruin my day by locking myself away because it might be COVID, you know what I mean? And so anyway, it's the places I've been, there wouldn't have been vulnerable people about anyway. So I think we're just living with it now, aren't we? It's almost, I mean, people are not even talking about it anymore. And I can't remember the last time I saw a mask. The only time I see the masks is if I'm anywhere near a health centre or anything. There's obviously vulnerable people still wearing them. But in the main part, we've all got vaccinated. We can all kind of find our way to our 4th vaccination now as well, I think. With things going the way they are. So Omicron being a bit weaker as well seems to have settled down. Hopefully that's that nightmare over with. Certainly in this country, it's still kind of a bit iffy depending on where you go in the world. They haven't quite sorted everything out yet. Just watching the watching Celtic Park in the background here. Big Ange has got his medal on. They've lifted the cup, people. They've lifted the cup. Right, should we talk about some games, people? Should we talk about some news? Good grief. I am going to need my my rather cool spectacles for this, people. What have we got first on the list? So, yes, Xbox players are unable to play any digital content for days, people. For days, because of a bug that just kept saying, you haven't bought this, you don't own it. Now, can we just say that this is the reason that I don't like digital content. Because the way that they've got it set up at the moment, well, certainly Xbox is. I don't know about PlayStation. I think when you've got something installed on the PS5, I don't think you need to be connected for it to do any kind of check that you own the game. I think it just plays. I understand that cloud gaming is different because that's streaming and stuff. So, but for standard games, you should not need to connect to a live connection in order to play the game that you've downloaded. That just shouldn't be needed at all. I don't know that PlayStation... I'm pretty sure you can unplug your PlayStation 5 and play your digital games. I don't think you need to be connected online, but I think with Microsoft ones you do. If I've got any of that wrong, you can let me know in the comments below. But anyway, it's absolutely ridiculous if you've paid good money to play games, and just because you've bought it digitally instead of on a disc, you can't play it because they can't sort the software out for 3 days or whatever it was that it was down for. So it's absolutely unacceptable. I think I suppose what they're trying to avoid is people getting stuff onto a hard drive and then plugging it in, or copying the hard drive with all the games on it, and then someone else can play them. But I feel like if you download a digital copy of a game, there should be something you can download with it that connects itself to that Xbox. And if for some reason you delete it or what have you, when you go online again to download it, it will then issue you a fresh one that's connected to that Xbox, and sort it out that way. You don't have to be. There should be no reason for you to have to be online to play a digital game. I mean, that was the whole hoo-ha of the Xbox One. That's one of the major reasons that people hated the launch of the Xbox One, was because it was forcing you to be online all the time. I mean, there was that famous quote from I forget the guy's name, the head of Xbox at the time. He said, "Well, if you don't like it, it's a good job we've got something in our in our product range that can play offline, and it's called the Xbox 360." I mean, it's one of the most shocking comments I've ever heard from the leader of a product in living memory. It's like, for all you people that don't want to be online, fuck off and play the old one, because you're not getting to play the new one. I mean, what is that all about? Anyway, let's not go back there. Let's not go back to the dark days, people. So, I mean, that needs sorting out. Another way to fix it, if they really don't want to have, if they really do want you to connect at some point to check that game's okay, then there should be some sort of, I don't know, grace period perhaps, where you only have to connect once a month to ensure that that's your copy and everything's good. So, that way, at the very worst, or, once a week even would be fine. It connects once a week to ensure that it's got, you're still playing it on the right console or whatever. Anyway, they need to sort that out, because it is not on, people. It's not on. I'll go through I'm not sure if it was worth reading the article on this one, but let's read it anyway, shall we? Should we accept the cookies? Why not? Xbox players were unable to play digital games this weekend during big server outage. The Xbox Series S only plays digital games. That's another good point, actually. So they were all shafted. So the outage caused quite a headache for some users. A message posted on Twitter, on the Xbox support account on Twitter, suggests the outages began on May 6th. When users began reporting they were unable to launch games on Xbox consoles and via the cloud. Service resumed normally and then had issues again. The Xbox support account said all issues were seemingly resolved as of the 8th of May. So that's best part of 3 days that people would have been down, 2 or 3 days. 6, 7, 8. But the outage left fans with the question and concerns about Microsoft's policies about needing to connect to the internet to play non-live games. It's absolutely, you should not need that at all. Paris from the gaming world. He said the Xbox outages have made it clear that something needs to change with the DRM policy. Games that are downloaded to my console should have a window to be offline and playable without checking in, which is, basically what I just said there. But to be fair, I picked that up from reading this comment before. So tip the hat to Paris. Hopefully we get some clarity and a solution to avoid this issue again. Microsoft thanked fans for their patience during the outages. As usual, too, the outages did not affect everyone, but this was a notable event. Not half, mate. Xbox said in a subsequent tweet that it has now seen significant improvements to the issue. Well, I should hope so. And that full mitigation of the problem will come with the launch of a new update this week. So they must have released a patch for it. But then you got to wonder what patch broke it in the first place. Well, there you go. And that article came from a GameSpot. Tip of the hat to them. I'll try and remember and mention whose articles these are. Generally what happens is I get the actual news, but most of the articles I get are from IGN, and I just copy the links. But a few of them I've heard in other ways, and I just go and find a link on the Tinterwebs. And that one happened to be GameSpot. Starfield and Redfall delayed until first half of 2023. Bethesda announced that, I think it was at the beginning of this week. I think it was. Oh, the world went crazy, people. The world lost its shit. And to be honest, I was convinced that Starfield wouldn't get delayed, because it was a very solid date, and it was that date that they always like to launch on with their product. 11/11, whatever it was, 11/11/22, whatever it was. So I was kind of convinced that they were confident they could make it. Aaron Brew, on the other hand, he was like, that's going to get delayed, that game, without any shadow of a doubt. And he was right, it has been delayed. In fact, they're not even giving it another date. They're just saying it's delayed till the first half of 2022. I'm not remembering too much about Redfall. I think it's a vampire-y thing, isn't it? If I remember rightly, it was a big launch trailer about vampires flying through over rooftops and all sorts of stuff. It looked like it might be a 4-player co-op type thing. But Starfield, to me, I mean, again, we are coming off the tail end of a pandemic. There's still, a lot of people working from home rather than in the studios themselves and all that sort of stuff. So it will have played on the time frames of everything. And this has been a perfect time for games to launch if they were ready. Aaron Brew keeps seeing apparently Final Fantasy 16 is finished and they're polishing it. So if they can get that polished soon enough, if they launch that game this year, I mean, I know Final Fantasy games get a huge amount of attention anyway, but there's a lot of people that don't necessarily get pulled toward Final Fantasy games, and this Final Fantasy game is, like most of them of recent times, are becoming different to play and more, might more interest more people. I think it would be a fantastic year to launch Final Fantasy 16 in if it's ready, because it'll make a stupid amount of cash, and it'll be in for a running for Game of the Year, because at the moment, the only thing in the running for Game of the Year is probably going to be Elden Ring. And the nominees are Elden Ring, and the winner is Elden Ring. That'll be the Game Awards this year. What else have we got, people? Yeah, so I'm not that bothered about it. I'd rather have Starfield when it's ready than we don't want another instance of Skyrim on PS3. The buggiest game ever made. Hey, what do we got after this? Well, actually, I have got the article for that. Is that opening the app? Yeah, it is, yeah. We want to ensure... Oh, hello. We want to ensure that you receive the best polished version of the game. Announced by Bethesda on Twitter below, no specific reasons were given for the delays other than to say that the teams want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished version of them. The statement also promises that the first gameplay deep dives for both games will be released soon, and you can imagine that would come during the Xbox Bethesda Summer Showcase on June the 12th, people. Keep that in your diaries. A follow-up from Starfield's Bethesda game studio simply says, "We can't wait for you to play Starfield, but we need some more time. We're so thankful for all the support and encouragement and are excited to show you the game soon." Arcane followed up the tweet with a message from Redfall's director Harvey Smith. "Here at Arcane Austin, we've decided to delay the launch of Redfall," Smith explained. "The team needs more time to bring the game to life. Thank you so much for your continued support. Redfall is our most ambitious game yet, and we can't wait to show it off soon." Starfield previously was released on November 11th. So, I'm not that bothered again. Redfall, I'm not sure if I'll play it anyway. Arcane games, I've kind of gone off them. Dishonored, I nearly finished it a few times and never quite finished it. Dishonored 2 is the same. I think I only tried that once. Prey, I enjoyed it for a few hours, and then it kind of became a little bit samey. The problem with that game was the enemies there wasn't enough enemy types of any interest. They were all just black, different shapes of black. And the going into each area was just, it was horrific, waiting for the doors to open. It was like a loading screen every time you wanted to go through a door, unlike Dead Space, where it was just like, walk through. If it had been more like that, it would have been a far more fun game to play. Talking of Dead Space, people, Dead Space releasing 27th of January 2023. I'm not sure if that was already known, but I picked up on that this week. I've played Dead Space to death, and played it recently, obviously on the channel. I'm hoping that there'll be enough of a change in this game for it to be interesting to play. I think it will be. I think they'll spin enough of their own quirk to it. My only concern is that this is an extremely fast turnaround. Since they mentioned they were going to make it, it's been a super fast turnaround for that game. So I hope it's not buggy as hell. Because Jedi Fallen Order, which I realised was Respawn rather than them, but still an EA game. That was a fantastic game, but it did have a lot of bugs in it. Beautiful now. If you play it on the new gen consoles, fantastic. And we'll talk about that again in a minute. The brand new Dead Space remake officially has a release date. With EA announcing during a stream that the updated version of the beloved survival horror game will be out January 27th, 2023. In addition to the release date, EA also revealed a trove of new concept art for fans to pick through. While EA says it isn't indicative of in-game footage, it does offer an idea of the scope that the development team is going for and its newly updated version of Dead Space. I didn't manage to have time to get a copy of those, otherwise I would have put them up on the screen there. The new art. First announced in July 2021. So they announced they were doing it in 2021. Looking at the live streams they've done and how advanced they were, I mean, you're looking at a turnaround time of a game of 2 years. I suppose you've got all the concept stuff already, though. You've got a lot of building blocks already there for you. So, maybe a year's worth. A 3-year turnaround would have been understandable. So if you've already got the building blocks, then maybe 2 years is enough. Anyway, first announced in July 2021, Dead Space is a remake of the 2008 sci-fi horror game starring Isaac Clarke, an engineer who must battle the series horrors of Yeah. The original developer, Visceral Games, was shuttered in 2017, with co-creator Glenn Schofield now working on a similar game in the PUBG Battlegrounds universe entitled The Callisto Protocol. I didn't know that was set in that PUBG Battlegrounds universe. Yes, that's right, the Callisto Protocol. I forgot about that. If you watch the trailer for the Callisto Protocol, it literally looks like Dead Space going on. I'm probably more excited about that than I am the Dead Space remake. Tip of the hat to IGN for that article again. Sony has reportedly registered a new PS5 model, people. Yes, they have. Now, this happens quite regularly if they're going to change the innards of things. However, to go along with that, we're also approaching the time period from last gen where they started to consider doing pro versions of the consoles, both Microsoft and PlayStation. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that is anything to do with a particularly new model, or whether it is just them changing some of the innards or making it a different shape or smaller or whatever. This article from GameSpot. Sony has reportedly registered a new PS5 model. The CFI 1200 PS5 is said to have updated radio equipment inside of it, but don't expect any external changes. Sony appears to have registered a new PlayStation 5 model in Japan, as the company received construction design certification in April for a CFI 1200 device that uses updated radio equipment. This approval is likely for the PS5 as the Sony... this approval is likely for the PS5 as the Sony console uses a CFI-1XXX model numbering scheme. Having received the certification in April from Japan's Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, the new hardware is designed to conform to the latest radio and wireless communications equipment standards. This isn't the first time that Sony has changed the PS5 internally, as the first version shaved some weight off the console and added a thumb screw to the base stand. The CFI 1102A version also included a smaller heatsink. Last year it was reported that a PS5 internal redesign was in development, while Sony confirmed that it was thinking seriously about an architecture change to alleviate supply chain issues caused by the global semiconductor shortage. Since it launched in November 2020, The PS5's external appearance has remained the same, and this looks to be the case again with the CFI 1200 model. This also ties in with Sony's plans to make PS5 consoles more readily available this year, as the company has projected that it will sell many millions more PS5 units in the current fiscal year that begins April 1st and runs through March 31st to 2023. As part of Sony's latest investor briefing, the company said it projects to sell 18 million PS5 consoles during this financial year, with this number based on the company's current visibility into parts procurement. Sony has sold more than 19 million PS5 units so far. Bloody hell. Since the console launched. And if you're looking to grab one yourself, blah, blah, blah. Okay, doke. Next up, people, Jedi Fallen Order, the sequel, is apparently called Jedi Survivor. I'm a survivor. I quite like that. I had this conversation with Aaron Brew. I don't like it when they just slap a 2 on a title or a 3 on a title. You know, Dead Space 1, Dead Space 2, Dead Space 3. It's almost like we're too thick to understand what order we should play them in, so let's just stick a 1, 2, and a 3 on them. But for me, I'd rather have a great title for the game, and then just in little brackets in a cool way underneath, just have Saga Part 2 or something, or, you know, something like that, rather than have just 2 at the end of it, which is really dull naming convention for follow-up games. So yeah, I quite like it. Jedi Survivor. It might change, you never know, but apparently it is called Jedi Survivor. No more FIFA EA games. EA states high price tag as a reason for the split. So yeah, you won't be getting any more FIFA games after this year because EA do not want to make them because it's too much money to pay for the rights for the FIFA stuff. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I think EA are going to continue to possibly make soccer games, but they're not gonna do it via the FIFA route. And FIFA have said that they're going to continue to make soccer games with different studios, and they've already started working with them. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the FIFA games are like after this, because EA had actually, to be fair to them, they'd actually got to a point where they were making seriously good football games. And PES, on the other hand, seems to have gone into some sort of nosedive of something that I'm not remotely interested in. PES used to be my go-to game. But for quite a while now, I used to be I used to have the new football game every year, and I rarely play them anymore. I buy a football. I've got 2 downstairs, and it's only because I got them for a £5 each. I think they were last year's PES and last year's FIFA. So I just buy them from time to time in case I fancy a game of footy and I just want a more recent version. So not bothered, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with those games anyway. Gotham Knights is releasing on October 25th. I'm not sure if we knew that already either, but it is no longer going to be on the Xbox One and the PS4. Gotham Knights has become a next gen only game, and PC obviously. So that's an interesting one. I kind of like it. I kind of feel like they're not bogging themselves down with trying to make it. They've obviously got big aspirations for the game, and trying to make it work on those consoles is just. I think a lot of studios are now looking at what happened with Cyberpunk and thinking we don't want that nightmare. And there's enough now. There's becoming enough consoles out there to justify just doing it for the new consoles. There's enough, and PC, enough money to be made off of those without worrying about the old gen consoles. So we could be reaching a point where most companies are going to go, do you know what, let's just sack it off for the old ones. And they released new footage as well. I was watching the new footage, and to be fair, all the footage I've seen has looked really good, but it's always been at 30 FPS, and it's always not looked the smoothest. It's hard to judge these things when it's on a stream or whatever, but I'd like to see a version of that game playing at 60 FPS at 1440p or even at 1080p, but I wouldn't play. I'm not playing games at 30 FPS anymore. It's just diabolical. It's got to be 60 FPS for me every time. So I'm looking to see, the other thing is I'm not sure if it's certainly not something I'm going to feel like I need to buy at launch. It's not like it's the new Batman game or anything. It's the closest you're going to get to a Batman game, right enough, although the new Suicide Squad, that was delayed as well. But I don't feel like they're doing from what I'm seeing, they're not doing much different with it than was in the last or previous Batman games, and that in most ways is probably a good thing. There is, I think, I think there's co-op in it for two people, but not four. Or if you're playing on your own, I think you can jump between. I think what they were showing off was you jumping between the two characters, and there was an element of that in the Batman game. At least the last one there was. You could jump between Catwoman and Batman, and that when there was these little moments where they were fighting together and stuff like that, and Batwing as well. Not Batwing, Robin. One of them anyway, or Nightwing, whatever he was called. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how it comes out, but it is being made by Warner Brothers Studios, and they are sort of historically good at, they always surprise me with games. The Warner Brothers games generally, like Shadows of Mordor and Shadows of War, and that game about Mad Max and all that, they were all, really, really good top end looking games. So it'll be interesting to see how that game does and how it gets received. But it's good that there's a game like that coming out, though. It's been a long time since a Batman game, isn't it? What have we got next, people? BioWare, yeah. BioWare Store stated Shepard's return, but quickly deleted it. So it's kind of a bit of a giveaway that possibly Shepard is back. I think we kind of all felt that was going to happen anyway. But this article from IGN again. Ah, right, there was an update to this story, actually. BioWare project director Michael Gamble says that the store listing seemingly implying a return for Commander Shepard in the next Mass Effect was a simple mistake. I mean, the thing is, though, you'd never know if they're telling you the truth, do you? And just keeping it a secret. On Twitter, Gamble replied to a thread about the listing saying the original description was written by the people who run the store and aren't familiar with the game. Of course, this is unlikely to be to totally put out the fires of speculation around a possible return of Shepard, but unless this is a deliberate double bluff, it seems this particular leak was nothing more than an error. And the original story was the BioWare store listed and quickly deleted a product description that implies original Mass Effect protagonist Commander Shepard is returning in the next game. As reported by Video Games Chronicle, YouTube user Mr. Hutton noticed a plot synopsis in the description of a Mass Effect 5 poster which indicates that Shepard would return. Though it was quickly removed, the description originally read, "The show goes on. Shepard's final quest may have ended the threat of the Reapers, but at great cost, including Earth itself. While Shepard and the survivors are left to pick up the pieces, fans are left wondering what's next." The mention of Shepard was omitted later as the description was changed to "The threat of the Reapers might have ended, but at great cost, including Earth itself. While the survivors are left to pick up the pieces, fans are left wondering what's next." It's unclear whether the original text was an inadvertent slip of information or a simple mistake on the part of someone outside the development team. Merchandise has been involved in accidental leaks before, but there's also the chance that someone with no inside knowledge has written the description. We've contacted BioWare for comment, and then that other comment then pitched up. Interesting one though. It's a bit of an odd, like the description is exactly the same with Shepard taken out of it. It's almost like they forgot to remove the name and they were told to, rather than anything else. I'd be surprised if Shepard's not in that game. I would be very surprised, people, very surprised. How long have we been going for? Good grief, it's coming up for 3 o'clock. Then the game kicks off at 4:45. I've given myself, I've spaced it all out, people. 2-hour gym session this morning, get the shopping in, record this, edit it all together, which usually takes about an hour, and then a little bit of breathing space. FA Cup comes on. FA Cup final. Where are we? Sony are investing a further $300 million into first-party games and multi-platform, which, again, that could be... it's good to hear, but I think it's just kind of a given that they're going to keep pummeling money into first-party titles. Multi-platform is interesting, however, because, as we go forward more and more, Sony, like Microsoft, are just going to try and get all of their games onto PC. Might not happen at launch because obviously there needs to be a reason for buying a PlayStation 5 or going forward, whatever it is, 6. But, they will end up on PC. It's just a market you can't ignore. It's, another gazillion pounds to go into your budget to feed the next games, and it's daft not to do it. So it's good to hear. EA teases 4 games in 2023 plus another remake. EA teases 4 games in 20... Why have I got that written twice? Should we read the article? I think the article put the same thing I typed in. Electronic Arts offered its investors a sneak peek at what it's got cooking for 2023 today during its earnings report, including planned major IP as well as an unannounced remake. A slide on EA's Q4 2022 earnings presentation gives a look at its next 4 months of release, with F1 2022 in Q1, FIFA and Madden. We get one named... We get one named franchise, PGA Tour, but we also see 4 big enticing unknowns: major IP, partner title, remake, sports title. So I wonder what the remake is. I think people have been trying to guess what EA have got the rights to. A lot of folk were posting up that it's possible it could be a remake of the original Dragon Age, which would be quite cool. But anyway, nonetheless, it's not clear now exactly what any of these 4 are. The remake invokes thoughts of the known Dead Space remake, but it's unlikely this is the case. EA both mentions in a footnote that all 4 games have not yet been publicly disclosed, so it's not Dead Space that they're talking about. And Dead Space was originally officially announced last year, so it looks like we're getting a second remake of something in 2023. For the major IPs, it's possible we're looking at the next Dragon Age or Mass Effect game, both of which are currently in development but haven't been given full-blown public announcements with titles and fanfare. It's worth noting that in the following slide, EA lists new studios in the Seattle area that are working on an unannounced open-world action-adventure game, which is another possible candidate for whatever this is, but Motive have an unannounced IP under its banner alongside Dead Space. That's about sports titles and stuff. So yeah, going to be interesting to see what that is. There's always exciting things like this. See, this is the runny nose kicking in, people. You get excited for something, and then it turns out to be something really shit. Like a mobile game or something. What's up next? Yes, after selling multiple studios, I just got to combine this into a oneer. So Square Enix have sold off a bunch of studios, including Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and the studio that were making Perfect Dark, the new Perfect Dark game. So you're looking at Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Perfect Dark, and a whole bunch of other stuff that's now not going to be Square Enix. It's sort of owned by I forget what they're called now, but just a company that buys these things up and over that just likes owning a whole bunch of. There seems to be more of these companies now. They're just like owning a lot of stuff, but they're not actually involved in gaming by any stretch. However, having done that, they're now looking to buy and open other studios. Again, an article from IGN, as was the last one. Square Enix is looking to build and acquire new studios despite selling off several last week. I think really, much as I might mention it in this article, I think Square Enix want to get back to the Japanese style of, all the, Final Fantasy type stuffs and all that. Part of the publisher's medium-term business strategy, as revealed in its latest financial earnings report, is to boost game development capabilities by establishing new studios, mergers, and acquisitions. Square Enix sold Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal to Embracer Group for $300 million last week in a deal which included IPs, including Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and more. Though it seems unusual that Square Enix would shed a number of studios and IPs and immediately pursue others, it defines a goal in its report as reshaping digital entertainment portfolio. Yeah, so that, as I say, I think they want to get back into do more of the sort of Japanese style stuff. It's under this objective that Square Enix plans to establish and acquire more studios alongside the more general desire to cultivate robust IP, creation of new IP. Yeah, just goes on to a bit of blather after that. Interesting one nonetheless. We'll see what happens with all those studios. There is actually, along with that, there is a new Tomb Raider game in development, and it's being made on the Unreal Engine 5. And there was a lot of like, ooh, Unreal Engine 5. There was a lot of surprise at that, not using the same engine. I'm wondering if it's because of that. I wonder if it's because they knew that was coming up and they wanted to use a different engine for it. So yeah, we're back to Crystal Dynamics making a brand new Tomb Raider game, which is going to be quite cool. Hey, and there it was, people. Hey, depending on how I've spliced this together, I held off as long as I could. My nose was just running beyond belief. I was like, trying to hold it. I think you guys will have appreciated the fact I went and sorted my nose out. Where were we before we were rudely interrupted, people? Yes, we finished off the old Square Enix, hadn't we? So, that leaves us with a couple of articles. And Silent Hill, this keeps raising its head, doesn't it, eh? Silent Hill's coming, Silent Hill, images of a rumoured new game seem to leak and get swiftly deleted. Set in Britain, ? Yeah. I don't think this particular article talks about it being set in Britain, but I think that was something else I also saw. Again from IGN, a well-known leaker shared 4 images of an alleged new Silent Hill game before they were quickly deleted by the copyright holder, leading many to believe they are legitimate. Twitter user Dusk Golem posted the images before their account was locked and the images were removed. The leaker later claimed on Reset Era that the copyright claim was made by Silent Hill's own Konami. The deleted images have been seen by IGN and appear to show a handful of appropriately horrid environments, including a rundown house and a creepy corridor, alongside a character model whose face is peeling away to reveal bits of paper behind the skin. There's a bit of a tweet article there saying there's a lot more I'm not sharing now. This is from the relatively new source for me. This is a relatively new source for me, but I have been given more than enough proof to believe them. I also will mention the names Anita and Maya. And this is not the only Silent Hill game in dev, sorry. And then post the shots on Twitter. Dusk Golem has previously leaked correct information, particularly in relation to Japanese horror series Resident Evil, and claimed to have more than enough proof to believe these images were real. Very cool. So it's exciting that it's in development. I'm not sure about Konami just in general. I mean, if they're making it, I know they're the copyright holders, but if they're making it, because they don't seem... I mean, there seems to be a bit of a turnaround at Konami. They were kind of going away from making games, and now they seem to be wanting to make them again. So maybe this is their way back in to make something really cool, you know. I'd be quite excited to see a new game set in the Silent Hill world. I don't think we've seen one since the 360 days. Was it Downpour? Was that the last one? Or something of a similar title? So it'd be very cool. I mean, you could almost reset it and just start again, because everything looks so old now. You could just do it in the style of the new Resis and have it over the shoulder, a bit more going on interest-wise. So it'd be quite cool to get those worlds back. It's a massive franchise to leave with nothing happening. And the comment about Britain. I mean, I thought Silent Hill was a place. I didn't think it. I think it was in a particular place in America, wasn't it? The minute you drove into it, it was all kind of... Or as Silent Hill can be anywhere, I've no idea. Anyway, set in Britain was interesting. So there was another comment in another article there. And finally, Elden Ring is the best-selling game of the last 12 months, just after 3 months of launching, overtaking COD Vanguard. So it is. I mean, it's not a huge surprise as such that it's the best-selling game, but you know, down to the fact that there's not been any major launches this year. But it is over the last 12 months. But it's not a surprise. It is a fantastic game. It's also a game that is luring people in that wouldn't normally have been interested in the Dark Souls games. I can take these off now, can't So, I think there's a lot of people buying that game that wouldn't normally have bought a Dark Souls game. And I think for playing the amount of hours I've done, I mean, I must be into. I'm trying to think how many episodes I've posted up. Is it 6? I'm approaching 60, I think. We're in the high 50s, thereabouts. And I think in total, that's probably about 70 hours of gameplay, because a lot of the earlier videos, I think, might have gone over an hour. So I must be somewhere in the region of 70 hours worth of play. And it is just... it's just far more accessible. I think the bosses will still get some people not finishing that game for sure, because I mean, even just the first battle, it's not Godric, is it? I keep saying the first battle's Godric, it's not. Magnet, whatever his name was. Margit, was it Margit? Jolly Boys being no damn Margit, that doesn't sound like I think it was Margit. Anyway, I mean, that first fight alone, I mean, it took me an hour to do him. I did do it eventually, but but we got the summons and everything. You can find a way through most battles, and that's what I'm finding. Just try not drop 98,000 souls like I did and then die. If you haven't seen that episode yet, I beat the boss at the base of the Divine Tower, died at the same time he died. I freaked out thinking that I'd not got any points for it. And then there's a guy that you have to fight going back into the room, who wasn't particularly easy, but I was doing him pretty... I got a pattern for it, fucked it up because I was all stressed out from losing the things. In the middle of fighting him, I realised that my runes are probably lying on the floor in the room that I've just killed the boss. And then the guy killed me before I walked in the room, so I'd lost the runes. And it was I didn't know how many it was at the time, and you guys told me in the comments it was 98,000 runes. I was like, fucking hell. It's a good job I've done some grinding, people. What the shit? That was 98,000 on what I'm on at the minute. That's 20, 40, 60, 80. So it's probably 4 level ups, baby. 3 or 4 level ups. It's quite a lot. Anyway, there's a lot of areas now where you're getting quite a lot of points for killing enemies, so I suppose you could do a bit of grinding and get something back. But we're pretty powerful, like, considering the amount of... I don't see how I could be any more powerful than I am, other than the 98,000 souls. And I did a lot of grinding off camera to sort of build up my level up. So, anyway, we shall get back to it, people. We shall. Well, that's it. That's all I have for you. I'm not overly sure how long I've been talking for. I think it's been about an hour, people. I do. I think flagging's up to you all once again. It's been nice to be back talking to you. I hope it's been nice for you seeing me again. Because obviously when I do my Let's Plays, I'm not on camera. So this is the only time you guys get to see me in the flesh, people. I said that like I was naked, didn't I? In the flesh. Well, there you are on that note, people. Yes, I shall hopefully be back with you once I get some more Elden Ring recorded. I will have a think about what other things I could be recording to go alongside Elden Ring, at least one game, for those that don't enjoy Elden Ring. And I'll keep you posted on anything else that's happening. There you are, folks. That is it. It has been. Oh, well, let me know, people. Let me know in the comments below about any of this stuff. Any of these articles that I've been talking about, people. Let me know in the comments below. I always get back to you. I love hearing from you. Please ram the comments below with any comments you've got about any of that news or anything to do with the channel at all, people, or anything to do with gaming. Just ram it in there. Ram it in there. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you once again in this podcast of mine. And I shall catch you all in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.